I've recently been on a mission to use up all of my scrap yarns, and today I'm going to make a bag on the knitting machine with scrap yarn. Beginning with some waste yarn, I cast on with that and made a few rows. I had been debating of how to divide up the colors since I have a few random colors, and decided to begin with 5 rows of white, and then change to my first color and knit however much that would make. Once I saw that I wouldn't have enough for another full row, I cut it and changed again to white to make another 5 rows before the next color. I finished off the panel with another 5 rows of white and then some waste yarn. Altogether, I made 100 rows for this panel. If I would have had more, I probably would have made it a bit longer, but for now, this was good enough. I then repeated the whole process for the second panel, changing the colors with white in between, and making the same amount of rows altogether. Now here's why it's important to stay alert. I started the last row but didn't have enough green to finish it, so instead I just switched to white and used that to finish the row. The next step was closing up the panels using the waste yarn as a guide to see the last row, and with a crochet hook closing them into each other. I hope that makes sense, but it's a bit hard to explain. but you could see how I did it. Then remove the waste yarn. Before I closed the other side, I turned it inside out and knotted up all of those color changes to make sure they don't come loose. Now that both panels are neatly closed, the next step is connecting them together. I did this by lining up the sides, and then with the crochet hook, not a needle and thread, I simply went into the inside of these V's, the rows, and pulled them into each other, back and forth, taking one from each side each time, and like this they kind of interlock and connect. It also creates a really gorgeous kind of braided pattern in between the panels. It is a bit tedious, so this is the next day since I got tired, but eventually I finished connecting the panels. At the top I made the kind of knot into itself from that tail that I had from the end of the panel. Now I folded it over and began connecting the sides in the same method as I did with connecting both panels together. And by the end, since I didn't have a tail to close off that loop, I took a little piece of yarn and used that to close it. And since this will be in the inside, it won't be visible at all. And now it's time for the strap. So I decided to do with the white yarn because that's what I had the most of. and I tried figuring out where I wanted it to begin and finish. I decided to make 2 handles. So I picked up where I wanted. Made a chain 2 and then another 3 double crochets. And then turned it around. And here's a little trick that I learned recently. Instead of making a chain 3 when turning the row, you do a single crochet and then another single crochet into that second loop that you have, and that makes you a stump just like a double crochet, and it's much more neater and makes for neater sides as well. So I did as many rows as I needed for the first handle. And then counted the rows on the panel to see where to connect it on the other side so that it makes a kind of arch. It took a little bit of figuring out to do, and I finally realized that I needed 1 more row to make it on the correct side and that it shouldn't be twisted. Eventually I got it right. And then I repeated the exact same process for the other handle. And finally, all that was left was to tuck in all of those ends, which I did with my crochet hook. And that's it. It came out absolutely gorgeous. I loved making it. I love how practical it is. And most of all, I love that I used up some scrap yarns. Although I still have these left, maybe I'll make with them a stuffed mushroom. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Bye!